So again, thank you everyone for joining in, for tuning in with us here today on this Recipes for Success series. Today we have someone who's enthusiastic not only about their culinary skills but also about sustainability, and that's something they've been working on for a long time. Their neo-Indian cuisine is something that they're known for. Their dream project, Haoma, which is the first urban farm and zero waste management restaurant in Thailand. His menus have created a sense of immersing the environment, and it awakes all of the senses and sparks a sense of curiosity and nostalgia. And all of this together have won him multiple Michelin stars, and his efforts in sustainability have also won him the Michelin Green Star, which is something that all of us can learn a lot about. With his abundance for love of greenery and for cooking, his Asian cuisine is something that he's known for, and he takes a strong Indian heritage with him wherever he goes. So please join us in welcoming the one and only chef Deepanker Khosla. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here to see what I.I.M.U.N does in India and what you guys are doing in the forefront for culinary. That's why I decided to come here and speak with you guys and share my views on what we do here and see more people getting inspired to take Indian culinary to greater heights.
Lovely. Thank you so much, sir. I think I'd like to get us started all the way in the beginning. Um, you always spoken about how a multicultural setup for you while growing up was something that sort of pushed you to experience different cuisines and sort of explore food itself in a different way. So what are your earliest memories of sort of getting into the culinary industry, and how has this confluence of cultures been a part of your journey?
Of course, I come from Allahabad, and Allahabad is a melting pot of cultures because that's where the freedom fighting movement of India was concluded. So when Mahatma Gandhi and the other leaders of the freedom fighting movement called upon people from different parts of the country, people don't just migrate in skin; they migrate with culture. With which I mean, and a strong part of culture is food. So when you go to Allahabad, or Prayagraj, where I was born, you'd see tremendous amounts of different foods from different parts of the country. So growing up, we were experiencing different kinds of South Indian, North Indian, East Indian cuisines, and that is something that I give a lot of credit to for my palate as it is today. I also come from a household where the core focus laid around eating, which you can clearly tell when you look at me, because I've continued that even today. I've and I think with my restaurant, I go back. I started my career in 2010 with the ITC hotels. Before that, I was in Manipal studying culinary, and when I was doing working with the ITC hotels, I was exposed to some of the finest Indian cuisine. I think there is nobody that does it better. I've been cooking for the last 14 years, and I've cooked far and abroad, and I can tell you that the mastery of Indian cuisine lies with the ITC hotels. And I was very fortunate that I got to learn from the chefs there. I got to spend a few years with some amazing people who I got to work with and learn from. And yeah, that's where my culinary journey started, and I've been taking this forward because I think that Indian cuisine, if you rated the world's best restaurants on the basis of flavor, top 10 restaurants will be all Indian, is what I think.
Lovely. And just pushing a little on that, one thing that sort of is a part of your brand is your neo-Indian cuisine. That is something that
Yes,
you talk about a lot. So what exactly is this neo-Indian cuisine? If you could just talk about that for
Neo-Indian,
a bit.
yes, the inspiration of Neo-Indian comes from the American word Neo-Indian, which is used for the Red Indians. And Neo-Indian is an ethnographic movement of the Neo-Indian child like myself who has adapted modern ways but hasn't forgotten where he comes from. So that is what our cuisine and how my as well is. It's super, super modern. We are trying to convey to the people and the gourmet crowds, the regular diners, the chefs. That India of 2024 is not what is stuck in their mind. We are super modern, highly educated. We are well spoken, well traveled. We eat well. We wear well. We sleep well. So that is what we are trying to communicate with the Neo Indian flag.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And what you said there, in terms of going places, but remembering where we come from and sort of understanding those roots, well and sort of sticking to them strongly as well. And one thing that you said that I found very interesting and that I've sort of seen around on your social media as well is you take a lot of traditionally what we would count as comfort food, like dosas
Yes,
or anything of the sort, and then you sort of uplift them and upgrade them with your own innovations and your own twists and turns to something that is absolutely gourmet and very chic.
yes.
So, what has been your experience in this process?
See, we were watching TV when we were watching it out of a blue box, and we are watching TV while we are watching it on a paper thin wallpaper on our walls, right? Both of them solve the same purpose. The
Correct.
Nokia 5110 solves the same purpose of texting and telephone calls, and the iPhone of today solves the same purpose of texting and phone calls. However, it's an uplifted experience of using a mobile phone. So I think the essence of a product lies, if I go back and say cuisine, why do we eat food? The basis of eating food lies in the fact that we want to satiate ourselves, we want to give ourselves nutrition, we want to fill our bellies. But the modern approach of the iPhone approach of our cuisine is that we take it and maximize the potential of that particular dish as we see it. What I see food to be is not necessarily what is seen by another chef, and that is what I think makes cuisine at Haomo more unique, because I see it through my lens and I replicate my memories of my favorite food that I have eaten before, and then I represent that very strongly with my particular ideas. This is I don't try to cook food to please everybody. This is food that I love. This is food that I grew up with. This is food that I ate sitting on the kitchen shelf when my mom and my grandmother were cooking. So if you love it, if you like it, very good. If you don't, no problem at all. Hospitality cannot please everybody. So that's what we do here at home.
I think what you said is absolutely beautiful in terms of the comparison you made in terms of both the television and the phones and sort of how an uplifted experience is just a part of our modernization process. Could you sort of share an anecdote of one of these journeys with one dish that is sort of close to you in terms of the process of taking it from home food to gourmet that you've done?
Yeah, of course. One of the, when I was a child, I still remember that I had jaundice once, and I was addicted to eating street food, and I got sick. And while I was sick, I ran to one of the chaat shops and ate that tomato ki chaat that they sell over there, which is the traditional classic tomato ki chaat, which is one of my signature dishes in the menu as a fact at the moment.
Hmm.
However, I thought that the spice of that tomato ki chaat could be cooled down with something very unique. So I created a rasam and turned that into an ice and served it with the banaras ki chaat. So the heat gets mellowed down with the coolness of the rasam. And I blended, the north and the south together is something that I very strongly also feel that Indian food is without borders. We cannot demarcate Indian food with borders. India is a continent, it's not a country. We have way far too many people, way too far too many cultures and cuisines to be able to put it in a box called chicken tikka masala, and that's why we try to represent it differently as India at large as a country, not as states and as four different geographical locations.
I think that's I think the quote out of that is India is not a country but a continent when it comes to food.
Yes,
And as a South Indian who's grown up eating rasam, the thought of having rasam with chaat is something that makes me want to immediately go try it right now.
of course.
Because rasam has always been this comfort food, but to experience that with chaat, I think is absolutely genius.
Yes.
But I think another important thing that I think all of the culinary students and aspiring chefs watching this live would want to know is your whole concept of sustainability is something you take very, very seriously. It's just not something that you try to do, but something that you actually achieve and constantly practice. Uh,
Yes.
First off, why is that something that became important to you? And second, what are some actionable measures that all of them can do as aspiring chefs?
See, as I mentioned earlier, at the age of 17, when I left my home, I joined the Welcome Group Graduate School of Hotel Administration in Manipal, which is a product of the ITC hotels. And after finishing my college, I graduated to the Welcome Management Institute in Gurgaon, which is also an ITC product. So I spent a very large part of my early life with the ITC hotels, which with their hotels and their buildings were LEED Platinum at that time, which is Leadership in Energy and Environment Development. I was working my first hotel that I stepped foot in as an industrial trainee, and then I spent a year and a half as a management trainee was ITC Moria. And, I always used to think to myself, when I started my business, I always used to think to myself that if they can do it for, 500 rooms and 2,000 employees, then I can do it for, 500 square meters and 50 employees. And I could easily be able to carry those ethos, carry those, values with me. And that is something that I started right from the beginning. The core DNA of my restaurant has sustainability, and that's why we are currently the only green Michelin starred Indian restaurant in the world. We've started 7 years. We are ahead of the curve, I think, and we take pride in that. But at the same time, we take pride in sharing what we do because we want to be in entire industry, all the restaurants in the world, to be able to cook more sustainably. If we are not cooking sustainably, we will not have much to cook with in the future, and that's why we follow what we do.
I think that's lovely. But what are some things that sort of people who are going up to set up their own cafes or restaurants now? Because a lot of students who watch this are those in the culinary industry. What are some
Yes.
actionable tools that you'd recommend for them right off the bat when they're starting to make their entire journey more sustainable?
See, something that is very, very integral to me and something that I've been doing since I started my restaurant from the beginning is I looked inwards, not outwards. I'll go back a little bit to a story of my childhood once again and see and speak about how I've taken notes from there and used it in my life today. So even today, not just when we were small, even today, when I go back to Allahabad, जब मैं घर जाता हूँ, I see a cart puller comes out of outside my house, he rings the bell. Once he rings the bell, my mom goes out. He has some tomatoes on it, some cauliflower, some potatoes, some eggs, and whatever he has brought to our home is what we consume, right? We don't travel 50 kilometers to go get a specific meat or a specific vegetable that my mom is going to cook today. So we are looking inwards. What is coming to us, what is around us, is what is being cooked. We Since we were kids, we are always we have always seen that gajar halwa is only available in the winters, and similarly you would have a nice tomato soup only in the summer. So when we do this, when and that is our forefathers, our parents, our grandparents honoring seasonality. So at Haomo, that is something that I've done, and this is something that I recommend everybody to do as well. Cooking the same thing day in and out, forcing the farmers to grow produce and keep them in cold storage is not the right way to go, according to me. Of course, you're free to do what you like, but according to me, we must work with the seasons. We must work with the farmer. We must work with the nature, not against nature. And I think that is the first and foremost thing. And then, every single day, as somebody who opens a cafe or as a restaurant, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur. You have hundreds of decisions to make. Some decisions are right, some decisions are wrong, but choose the sustainable one, and that's what makes your business sustainable.
Lovely. Thank you so much for, of course, sharing that anecdote. I think having the vegetable vendor come outside our house on a cart is something all of us can relate to. And cooking seasonally is something that I think is something that all of us must do. But you're transitioning to sustainability or pursuing sustainability is not a very easy process either in the world that we live in. What have been some challenges on this path of sustainability for you?
See, buddy, when I started here in Thailand, and when somebody asks me why Thailand, I have no question, no answer to that because God intended me to be here. And when I started over here, at that time, Thailand was rated as one of the most polluted cities for plastic consumption per capita anywhere in the world. You would go to a 7-Eleven and you would buy a bottle of water that was made of plastic. They would serve a straw with that, which was plastic. It would be wrapped inside a plastic cover, and they would put it in a plastic bag and give it to you. All you paid for that was 5 baht, which is like 9 rupees, 8 rupees then when I first moved here 11 years ago. And I thought to myself, this is not going anywhere. I went one time when I earlier moved here, I went to an island. We went for a run on the beach, and what we saw was just washed away plastic. So this paradise in my mind was actually full of a lot of plastic. So that made me realize that there is something that I can do about it. I did not question the prerogative of the people who live here. I did not question the prerogative of the government, but I decided that I wanted to do something on my own. And I looked. I'd like to add to that sustainability is best done according to me when you're selfish. When you think about yourself that, oh, I want to be sustainable first, and then you take your 20, 30, 40, 50 people that work with you to sustainability, and then they transcend those processes into their families, and it further just transcends from there. So that is how we have done it. right from the beginning. We did not have a notebook, but कूड़े में क्या जा रहा है, what's going in the garbage can, what is going in a plastic bag, what is being thrown out, what is coming back into the place, what is happening with that waste, what is happening with your water. These are questions that you just ask yourself, you know. If you are constructing a new place, you say, okay, I have wash basin and I wash a lot of hands. A lot of people will come and wash their hands there. What happens to that water after that? So we recycle that water and we plant and we water our trees with that. You know, something as basic that. And I invested around when I opened my restaurant, I invested less than 10 lakh rupees in sustainability, and it today affects my bottom line not less than 6 or 7% in profitability. And I invested that once 7 years ago. I'm still reaping the benefits of that. So not only is it ethical to do it, but it's more profitable for all the chefs and budding chefs who are listening to this. It might seem like there is no light in this tunnel. We also went in the same way. We just did not give up.
Lovely. And I think the lesson there is to first look inward when it comes to sustainability, to make that decision for yourself first, not condition to your surroundings or the people around you, but to make that decision for yourself and then in your enterprise and then with the people immediately around you, and then hope that it becomes a larger movement in itself. But my next question feeds right out of that. You said when you build a team of 20, 30, 50 people, and then you sort of made sustainability a practice with them also. As someone who runs your own restaurant, as someone who has led a team, leadership is of course a huge part of what you do in your
Yes.
daily life. And at I.I.M.U.N events or at I.I.M.U.N itself, building leaders is a huge part of what we do as well. So what has sort of been your leadership journey, and what are some leadership tips you'd like to give aspiring chefs here as well?
See, I think it's very interesting. This is a very interesting question, you know, because as an entrepreneur, you don't have an option but to lead with example. There are roles that you will never find. 7 years later, I still haven't found roles to be fulfilled in my restaurant that I must take care of every day. You know, like for example, this morning at 10 o'clock, I found myself in a factory looking at ceramics. Nobody else can go and search them for me. I have to do it myself. There are times when you have to be the accountant, you have to be the purchase, you have to be the HR, you have to do all of those tasks as a chef. But I think that is what owning a business really means. There is no job role, and leading your business to success makes you a real leader. And I don't think that there is anybody successful who is not rich, and there isn't anybody successful who is not respected. So chase the success, and the money and the everything else will follow. Leadership, I think, it's a very interesting question because I don't know if I'm a good leader or a bad leader, but I still have people who started with me 7 years ago. So maybe I'm doing something right. I feel that people are a part of process. People are a part of the family. People are a part of the business. But people are paid to do their jobs. So as long as you have the skill set to make sure that people are doing their jobs, and you have the skill set to scold them when they're wrong and love them when they're right, I think that's my mantra of successful leadership.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, before we go to our last segment, which is our rapid fire, which is a little more fun, I have one last question for you.
Please.
What would you say are the ingredients in the recipe for your success?
Uh, I think persistence and discipline is equal to success. So I think we don't give up and we don't give up. That's how we go.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now, just to go into the last segment of this conversation, the rapid fire, I'll just list out a bunch of phrases and you can tell us the first thing that comes to mind when I say them.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
the first one is an uncorrupted cuisine,
Indian.
Indian. Your comfort food after a long day,
Dal chawal dam aloo.
dal chawal and dam aloo. Lovely. Your favorite cuisine apart from Indian cuisine,
Japanese.
Japanese. Lovely. The best dish you think you've innovated.
The best dish that I think I've innovated is my silken chicken, which was Nilgiri korma with a minced chicken. Truly a Haomo dish.
That sounds absolutely scrumptious. The next one is young people, youth,
Future of tomorrow.
the future of tomorrow. The next one is India.
The most beautiful place on this planet.
Lovely. And we all all agree with you. And the last one is our organization, which is I.I.M.U.N. What comes to mind when I say that?
Driving force. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. I follow you guys. I see you guys collaborate with the right people. You're putting out the right message, and I think that is something that is needed to help streamline the thought process of the youth and of the people out there. Our desire. We are living in a generation of social media, and social media was built for you to be able to want more. And in the quest of wanting more, we should not forget what we really need. So we should be able to differentiate between our wants and our needs. And I think that is something that is very essential, and that is something that you guys are streamlining for the people of today. And I appreciate that. And that's why I agree to come on board for that.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. And thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. I think the lessons to take away are to be persistent, to be disciplined, but more than anything, to remember your roots wherever you go and sort of keep coming back to that and, like, living your story the right way and making sustainability or anything you're passionate about your own and then making it outward. I think the lesson for me personally is to make things, to look at things inward first, inculcate, imbibe them, and then try and make it a phenomenon for others as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. It's been absolutely lovely chatting with you. We really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you, Chef. Thank
Thank
you.
you.